In August of 1901, two women, Charlotte and Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain, set out to explore the gardens of the Petit Trianon, a small chateau on the grounds of Versailles in France. What began as an ordinary afternoon walk would soon become one of the most puzzling accounts of alleged time slips in modern history. As they wandered through the quiet pathways, both women described an unsettling change in atmosphere. The air grew heavy, the surroundings unnaturally still. They noticed people in unfamiliar clothing, men in tricorn hats, women in flowing 18th century dresses. Among these figures, they claimed to have seen none other than Marie Antoinette herself, calmly sketching on the lawn. Convinced they had witnessed something extraordinary, the two academics later documented their experiences in a book titled An Adventure. Their testimonies sparked fascination and controversy, dividing scholars and skeptics alike. Some argued it was a case of misinterpretation, perhaps influenced by shared imagination. Others suggested it was evidence of a phenomenon outside our understanding, an accidental step back into another century. To this day, the Moberly Jourdain incident remains unresolved. Was it a rare psychological illusion, a fabricated tale, or a fleeting glimpse through time itself? The gardens of Versailles still stand in silence, holding their secrets, as if waiting for the next visitor to cross that invisible boundary. In the late summer of 1901, two English women, Charlotte Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain, ventured through the expansive gardens of Versailles. Their destination was the Petit Trianon, a retreat once favored by Marie Antoinette. But as they walked, an uncanny transformation seemed to overtake their surroundings. The air grew dense, the atmosphere oddly muted. The sunlight appeared dimmed, and the sounds of modern life seemed to vanish. Soon, they noticed people in attire that belonged to another age, men in long coats and tricorn hats, women dressed in flowing gowns. Among them, one figure stood out, a woman sketching calmly on the grass, whom they later identified as the doomed queen herself, Marie Antoinette. When Moberly and Jourdain compared their recollections, they were struck by how closely their impressions aligned. Determined to preserve their account, they published an adventure in 1911, detailing what came to be known as the Versailles time slip. Their narrative stirred debate among historians, psychologists, and paranormal investigators. Was it a shared hallucination, a product of suggestion, or a momentary crossing into the past? The incident has never been explained. More than a century later, the mystery lingers, leaving open the question of whether the gardens of Versailles conceal not just history, but portals through which time itself might briefly unravel. In the heart of Suffolk, England, lies the quiet village of Kersey, known for its medieval charm and cobbled streets. Yet local tradition holds a tale that moves beyond history and into the realm of mystery, the story of the vanishing village of Kersey. According to accounts passed down over generations, travelers occasionally reported an extraordinary sight, the entire village appearing to shimmer, then vanish from view, as if swallowed by an unseen veil. Some claim to hear the distant tolling of bells or see shadowy figures moving among the houses, only for the scene to dissolve into empty fields. Others described Kersey as if caught in another time, the streets populated by people in clothing from centuries past. The phenomenon is often connected to the idea of time slips, moments when the present and the past appear to fold into one another. While skeptics point to optical illusions, tricks of the weather, or suggestive folklore, believers argue that the experiences share too many details to dismiss entirely. Today, Kersey stands much as it always has, a picturesque village untouched by the noise of modern cities. But for those who walk its lanes at twilight, there remains the lingering possibility that what appears before them may not belong solely to the present moment, and that the past, in some strange way, still lives and breathes within its narrow streets. Bold Street in Liverpool looks, at first glance, like any other busy shopping street. But beneath its ordinary surface lies one of Britain's most enduring modern mysteries, a series of alleged time slips reported by locals and visitors alike. Witnesses describe walking along the street and suddenly finding themselves in another era. Shopfronts appear with names long vanished, Cars are replaced by horse-drawn carts, and people wear fashions belonging to the mid-20th century, or even earlier. One of the most well-known accounts involves a man who claimed to step into a bookstore that no longer existed, only to later discover that the shop had closed decades before. Others speak of entering entire scenes from the 1950s or 1960s before being abruptly pulled back into the present. The consistency of these experiences has drawn attention from researchers of the paranormal. Some argue they may be vivid hallucinations triggered by stress or suggestion. Others suggest that Bold Street could be a rare geographical hotspot where, for reasons unknown, time itself briefly fractures. The phenomenon has become so tied to the location that locals often refer to Bold Street as a place where the past still walks. No scientific explanation has ever been found, and so, each step along Bold Street carries with it the unsettling thought, at any moment, the familiar bustle of the present might dissolve into a fleeting glimpse of another age. In 1979, a peculiar event unfolded on a quiet country road near Odin, France. A family traveling by car reported what has since been called the Odin time slip, an encounter that seemed to transport them briefly into another century. As the family drove along, they noticed the landscape shifting. Modern road signs and markings disappeared. The fields and hedgerows seemed strangely unfamiliar, as though untouched by modern development. Soon, they observed cars of an entirely different design, boxy, antique-style vehicles that bore no resemblance to those of the late 20th century. Even the drivers appeared oddly dressed, their clothing more fitting for the 1940s than the 1970s. Confused, the family continued down the road, only to realize that their own vehicles seemed out of place amid this vanished era. After several minutes, just as abruptly as it had begun, the vision dissolved. The modern highway returned, and the strange cars and figures were gone. The experience left the witnesses shaken, yet convinced of what they had seen. To this day, the Odin time slip remains without explanation. Was it an elaborate illusion, a shared hallucination, or something far more elusive? A brief step backward in time? The road near Odin is still traveled daily, but its hidden secret lingers, waiting for the next unsuspecting passerby to stumble across the past. In July of 1954, Tokyo's Haneda Airport became the stage for one of the most enduring mysteries of modern folklore, the case of the so-called man from Tauret. Customs officials stopped a well-dressed European traveler whose passport and documents appeared entirely in order. The only problem, his country of origin, listed as Tauret, did not exist on any map. When questioned, the man confidently pointed to a location between France and Spain, where only the small nation of Andorra lay. He grew irritated when officials insisted Tauret had never existed, claiming his homeland was centuries old and well recognized. The man's paperwork, from his passport to his driver's license, seemed authentic, bearing official stamps and details that puzzled the authorities. To resolve the matter, he was placed under guard in a hotel room while investigations continued. Yet by morning, the man had vanished. The room showed no sign of escape, and his documents disappeared with him. The incident was quietly closed, left only in scattered reports and retellings. Some dismiss it as an urban legend born of mistranslation, while others see it as an unnerving glimpse into alternate realities, or even visitors from parallel worlds. Whoever he was, and wherever he came from, the man from Tauret has become a lasting enigma, a mystery that lingers like a question without an answer, suspended between history and myth. In the autumn of 1943, during the height of World War II, whispers began to circulate about a secret U.S. Navy project later known as the Philadelphia Experiment. At its heart was the destroyer escort USS Eldridge, said to have been part of a daring attempt to render warships invisible to enemy radar, and perhaps even to the naked eye. Accounts claim that on a fateful day in Philadelphia Naval Shipyard, the Eldridge was surrounded by an eerie green haze before abruptly disappearing. Witnesses reported that the ship reappeared moments later, miles away in Norfolk, Virginia, before vanishing again and returning to its original location. Rumors spread that crew members suffered horrific side effects, some allegedly embedded within the ship's metal, others driven into madness by what they had experienced. The U.S. Navy has consistently denied that such an experiment ever took place, attributing the story to misunderstanding or fabrication. Yet the persistence of eyewitness claims, combined with declassified research into electromagnetic fields and wartime secrecy, has fueled decades of speculation. Was the Philadelphia experiment a misunderstood test of advanced technology, a myth born of rumor, or a fleeting glimpse into physics beyond our grasp? The answers remain hidden in the fog of history, leaving the image of the disappearing Eldridge to haunt the line between fact and legend. In 2003, a strange story surfaced that quickly captured imaginations worldwide: the case of Andrew Carlson, a man described as a possible time traveler. According to reports, Carlson appeared on Wall Street with a mere $800 and, in just 2 weeks, turned it into $350 million. His investments were flawless. Every stock he touched rose dramatically. This uncanny streak drew the attention of the Securities and Exchange Commission, which arrested him on suspicion of insider trading. But what came next pushed the story into legend. During questioning, Carlson allegedly confessed that he was not a criminal at all, but a traveler from the year 2256. He claimed his knowledge of future events allowed him to predict the market with complete accuracy. Investigators dismissed the confession as a fabrication, yet the man's sudden appearance, lack of verifiable background, and perfect trades raised unsettling questions. Some say he vanished after posting bail, never to be seen again. Others argue the entire story was a hoax, born from satirical reporting that spread unchecked. Regardless of its origins, the tale of Andrew Carlson endures, often cited as one of the most intriguing modern legends of time travel. Whether fact, fiction, or something stranger, the mystery remains. Was Andrew Carlson a con artist, a hoax, or truly a man out of time? In the early 2000s, online forums became the stage for one of the most enduring mysteries of the digital age, the accounts of John Titor. Posting under that name, an individual claimed to be a soldier from the year 2036, sent back in time on a government mission. His purpose, he explained, was to retrieve an IBM 5100 computer, a machine he said was crucial for debugging legacy systems in his own era. What set Titor apart was not only his detailed descriptions of the future, but also his matter-of-fact tone, as if speaking from lived experience rather than imagination. He spoke of looming global conflicts, civil unrest in the United States, and technological shifts that would redefine human society. Some of his predictions seemed vague or unfulfilled, while others were interpreted as strangely close to later events. His posts sparked heated debates. Was he a hoaxer, a storyteller, or something more extraordinary? Then, just as suddenly as he appeared, John Titor vanished from the forums. No identity was ever confirmed, no definitive proof uncovered. Yet his words remain archived, studied, and revisited by those intrigued by the possibility that time travelers might already walk among us. The mystery of John Titor lingers like a digital ghost, a puzzle woven into the fabric of the internet itself, where belief, doubt, and possibility still collide. In August of 1914, during the early days of the First World War, British troops faced overwhelming German forces near the Belgian town of Mons. Amid the chaos of retreat, a story emerged that has since become known as the Four Soldiers of Mons incident. According to accounts, several soldiers claimed to have seen mysterious figures appear on the battlefield, tall, spectral men dressed in strange, old-fashioned clothing. Some described them as medieval archers, others as angelic guardians. These figures seemed to intervene, shielding the exhausted British forces from destruction and buying them time to withdraw. One particular version spoke of four shining men standing as protectors, their presence so vivid that some soldiers swore it could not have been imagination. The incident was soon woven into the wider legend of the Angels of Mons, a tale that spread rapidly through newspapers and sermons, offering comfort to a public desperate for hope. Historians have since debated the story, suggesting it may have grown from folklore, misremembered visions, or even deliberate wartime propaganda. Yet the original testimonies of soldiers remain hauntingly specific, resisting easy dismissal. Were the four soldiers of Mons a trick of the mind under battle strain, a myth born of fear and faith, or something inexplicable, walking briefly among men? The fields of Mons remain silent, but the mystery endures, echoing through the long shadows of history.